So, what's your favorite city in California?
Probably Palm Springs.
Mm-hmm.
Seeing that I've had my place there now for a little over 20 years,
Mm-hmm.
and now it's time to sell.
Mm-hmm.
Unfortunately, it's breaking my heart. But I've seen my mother cry when they sold. She had 3 homes. When
Mm-hmm.
they sold, she cried. Well, I'm
Mm-hmm.
trying not to cry, but it's very difficult to
Mm-hmm.
have to leave there. And my family say, "Oh, you can go down and rent a place for 2 or 3 months,"
Mm-hmm.
and I probably could. But on the other hand, I mean,
Yeah.
I need to settle down. I've
Mhm.
kind of tramped back and forth between Utah and California my whole life. So,
Mm-hmm. Let's see. What's been your favorite job?
probably raising my children. But I probably working the whole time. My husband, I have to give him probably a bigger share in it than me, because
Mhm.
he sometimes had to put them to bed,
Yeah.
and help them with their homework when I wasn't available. But I tried to have good meals and
Mhm.
keep them clean and give them good advice
Mm-hmm.
to love them.
Let's see. Um, I can't think of anything. Is there anything that you would just like to add while I formulate another question?
Well, this is a shock. I'm still in shock.
Uh-huh.
And I appreciate you choosing me to do this
Mhm.
interview. Maybe you had to choose a grandparent. You got
Mhm.
Connie, she'd have been perfect too. And maybe you did do Connie and
Mhm.
Bill. So, well, I think I appreciate that.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe someday your kids will see this.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe, maybe not. But
We'll have to see.
I just appreciate you, love you, and
Mhm.
you've been such a person that I've been very proud of you,
Mhm. Okay, let's see.
and very proud of Jake too,
Mm-hmm.
and of course your mother and father.
Uh, What's your favorite place to visit outside of California or Utah?
In Utah, to
Or
live.
just anywhere besides California or Utah? Just where would you like, or where have you liked to visit?
Well, I haven't ever traveled. I don't know. I don't think I'd probably change things.
Mm-hmm.
Like I have a sister that's been around the world,
Mm-hmm.
and now she's starting over, and she just loves to travel, and
Mhm.
I've never wanted to travel, and I could have. We've
Mhm.
been to Hawaii, Alaska, been on cruises
Mhm.
and like that, but it's in Mexico. It's not been my big deal to travel, so I'm just happy with what was given me in
Mm-hmm.
Utah and California.
Okay, and do you want to talk a little bit more about Grandpa Keith? Because
Well, when I think about Keith, he was a wonderful husband. And the thing with Keith, he let me do what I wanted to do. There was very rarely that he said, "Oh, don't you think you better not do that?" or "Don't do that," or "Don't go to that." And he was always very supportive of
Mhm.
everything I did. And like I said, he was a wonderful father to the
Mhm.
children. And he solved a lot of problems that I didn't have to solve.
Mm-hmm.
And so I really loved him for that. And loved him for he was, very tender. And he didn't do a lot of talking.
Mm-hmm.
You'd sit and visit, and he wouldn't say hardly a thing. And like I often told my children, we'd go up to his parents to visit, especially on Sunday. And we'd all go in, we'd visit and visit. Keith wouldn't say a word. He'd sit and read the newspaper and all this stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So when we got ready to go, he wanted to have a big visit. So we'd sit down and visit them for half an hour after we'd already visited for half an hour. But he did catch up on the news because we didn't take the paper that he was reading. We just took the Herald Journal and he was reading the Desert News. So anyway, but he was a good husband. He was well liked, and when we had his funeral, it was packed. The funeral chapel was packed with people, and a lot of people came through. And I did what I would do, though. So when I reached, if I ever see him again in the next world, I'm sure he's going to grumble to me, because number one, I refused to show his body in his casket. It's terrible, you know, and I don't, same goes for me. He had the big funeral, and I want just a graveside. So that's where we differ. He didn't ever say, oh, I want to do this or I want to do that. Usually, you know, you'll talk about things like that, but we never did. We bought our gravesite, oh, gosh, we were married about 50 years minus a few months, and we probably owned our gravesite 30 years before he died. So, you know, we had planned ahead. Far ways ahead. So anyway, I still miss him. He died on the 15th of February. So the 15th of every month, here I am going around, thinking about him all day. Can't sleep at night. And he's still with me very much. Besides that, he was very handsome. He was the most handsome of any of the family, of his family. And anybody I ever went with, he was the most handsome.
And so, what about your kids?
My kids? Okay, I was blessed with 4 children. And Alan was the oldest, and he's now 60. And then Bea, she's coming along about 57 now. She's probably 57. And that I call her V. Her name is Valoy. And it was a confusion. I named her after my baby sister who died. She was 9 months old. And I gave her the middle name, which is my grandmother's, which was Hannah, Valoy Hannah. And the teachers would get her name Valoy mixed up with Valerie.
And
so V didn't like her name for that one reason, because she'd get it mixed up with Valerie. Plus, there's not a lot of Valoys. It's not a Debbie or anything like that, you know, real popular. And so I think that's been hard on her. And I can relate to that because I hated my name my whole life. Charlene Hannah, you know, Zollinger Thompson, now that's a mouthful. And then Stephen came along after that, 2 years after V. And then Annette was our baby, and it was about 7 years between Stephen and Annette. And she was the cutest little thing. They were all adorable. But I remember Annette because I had a shawl, was V's, that was given to me, that I used for Annette. And it was a pink, real soft. And I used to, the first time we put her in her crib, that shawl, it wasn't over her at the time, it was just pulled there. She pulled that up with these tiny little hands, and she clung to that shawl. And every time she would have in bed with that, she held that shawl. And her little hands. I can see those little fingers around that shawl. I don't know if she still has it, but she carried that. Her banky, you know, everyone has to have a banky. Including us old folks. When I travel, I have my pillow. So, but they've all been successful. Alan is an attorney. He's retired now. And V, she's worked for the phone company for years, and then she retired, and so she's working at another job now, which she is enjoying very much. And then Stephen, he's graduated from Utah State as well as did Alan. And Alan graduated from Pepperdine in Malibu, California. And then Stephen, he was president of Utah State when he was going to college, and he married Tamara Pluth, and they have no children. And then Annette, she married Craig Donaldson, who is a wonderful doctor, and who a lot of people that every once in a while, like I have a sister-in-law now that finds out she has cancer, and he's been treating her, taking care of her, and she has high regard for him. She knew him, of course, before because of her daughter there in Cedar City. So they've all, they've all been good kids. None of them have been in jail. Nothing on drugs, drinking or anything like that to, upset their lives. So I'm proud of them all. I've never had a postscript of that. That after Keith retired, he was a manager of Inland Gas Company, and after he retired, my father ran honeybees for years. And when he was old, he didn't know what to do with those honeybees. So after Keith and I had retired, I worked at the phone company for 28 years. It was Mountain Bell then. After that long, then we decided, Keith, he said, shall we buy your dad's bees? Because he couldn't find anybody to buy them. And I said, it's up to you, it's a dirty job. You have to hate yourself to run the bees. And so anyway, we did. We decided we'd buy the bees. So he worked that and did that after he'd retired for about 10 years. So and then finally we found some guy that was happy to buy them from us, but it's taken 20 years to get paid off on them. So he helped us and we helped him, I guess. So anyway, that's...
Okay, thank you very much for the interview.